Great. Good morning to you all. Good afternoon. It's Alex Bainbridge here from TourCMS in the UK. Welcome to this TourCMS webinar. What we're going to do in the next hour is we're going to go through an introduction to TourCMS. So we're going to take you through making your first booking and bookings management. But then we're also going to talk a little bit about how you can use TourCMS to generate new bookings in the first place. So think of TourCMS on two sides. Firstly, bookings management, and secondly, marketing. There's some great questions coming in. If you've got any questions, just fire them away through the system. And I'm here with a colleague, Paul, who will aim to answer questions as we go through. And any questions that we can't answer during the webinar, if we can't show you specific things, then we'll catch up with you afterwards and ensure that we can address your questions. So there's about 22 people on this webinar today. Perhaps you'd all like to start by just sort of saying in the questions box where you're from in the world, and then I'll do a few shout outs and say, because I know there's people from all around the place. I know there's people from Greece, Colombia, London, well, we're in London too, Chicago, Ireland. Hey, this is good. So, and someone has asked, are there canapes at this webinar? And the answer is no. Scotland, Czech Republic, Dublin. There we are. Lots of people from all over the place. Great, fantastic. So TourCMS. TourCMS is used by a couple of hundred. Maidstone. Oh, there apparently there's canapes in Dublin with the Guinness. Right. Okay. Well, that's very helpful. So I'm not a radio DJ, so I'm not going to do any more radio DJ type stuff, and we're going to get on and talk about TourCMS. So TourCMS is a reservation system used by a couple of hundred local specialist tour operators to manage their bookings and do their marketing. So I'm going to take you through adding a tour, adding some dates and prices, making your first booking, looking at the booking, looking at the customer record, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the marketing side of TourCMS. So can you all see this screen? So if we're on this screen, this would be the screen that if you sign up for a free trial, you will all see. Click on Tours, and the first thing you'll do is you'll create a new tour. So let's just create a London tour just for fun, and I'm going to leave this as a tour. Create a new tour / hotel, and there it is immediately on the list. If I click the little H, it will be in yellow, and therefore you will be able to see this clearly. So this is the tour that we are going to configure today. Yes. Pedro, yes is the answer. Right, so we've just added a tour called a London tour. If we click if we come into descriptions and images, this is where we can configure the main information about your tour. So we have things like text descriptions. So you can put in your tour name, your descriptions. You scroll down a little bit here, you can see the kind of lots of fields. These are the standard fields. If this doesn't work for your kind of tours, and TourCMS also works for villas and hotels, but let's talk about tours mainly. If this doesn't work for your kind of tour, you can add custom fields to make it specifically designed for you. We can also upload images and image names, which is great, and we'll come on to showing you how that works later. So we've got text descriptions and images, which is what you would expect to see in a content management system. If we click on Setup, I'm going to come through to where we can set up some business rules. So we can set up things like sales tax. You know, we can do all your accounting, we can manage your sales ledger, we can have a long conversation about how you can set up tax. But some countries in the Far East, for example, tend to sell tax inclusive, and then in Europe we tend to add tax. Lots of different ways you can work. So we can change cutoffs. So if you're selling multi-day tours, perhaps it's a group tour, perhaps it's an escorted tour, perhaps it's a trip with a specific start and end date, you would probably want to stop bookings at perhaps 5 days before the start date. But if you're selling a day tour, you probably want to be able to take bookings right up until the last minute. You know, you could be sat there 11:30 at night in your hotel room, and the customer now wants to be able to book. And that's what TourCMS can give you, is that capability to manage your last minute availability and ensure that you don't take bookings that you don't want to take, even if they're very last minute. So on these cutoffs, again, just to repeat, if you're selling group trips, you're selling tailor-made tours, you're selling escorted tours, you probably want to stop bookings at 5 or 10 days before travel. But if you are selling day tours, you probably want to stop at a very specific time, sort of on the day or the night before, perhaps. So we're going to put some dates and prices in. So I'm going to create an individual date. So let's create a date for the 23rd of October, and I'm going to create it at €100. Now this is just a very simple demonstration because I don't want to, we can have lots of different product types. We can do free sale type products, we can do villas, we can do hotels, we can do individual slots like if you're doing bungee jumping, and we can do tailor-made tours. We have all of this capability. So I've just created this tour on the 23rd of October. I'm actually now going to make a booking, so we're going to see what a booking looks like on this tour. So okay, so this, I've now just jumped into what is actually a customer-facing booking engine. The design of this is completely configurable to how you wish to integrate it on your website. If you are a web developer, you can actually completely change either this booking engine by CSS. Web developers will know what I mean by that. Or if you wish, you can actually build your own booking engine using something we call an API, which again, web developers will know what that means. Effectively, if you don't know what that means, it means you can build a booking engine to however you wish, and you can set up and structure your bookings as you like. So I'm now going to make a booking for 2 people on this particular date. Okay. Right, so I'm going to make a booking. So I'm just going to make a little booking here. You probably hear me typing away. I'll just put some fake details in because we always like this. Right. Again, you can change all these fields. So day tour type companies will probably want to have a very simple set of collection fields, unless you're doing something like an outdoors activity like whitewater rafting perhaps, where you might ask for more information. But there's a real trade-off. The more you ask, the less likely is the customer's going to actually complete that field. So we just made a very quick booking, and our booking reference is 44. Now again, as a repeat, you can design that how you like. So now back in the main TourCMS, we'll come to the booking section, and this is where, if you don't want to, you can actually access all of your bookings, and you can see a control panel as to what's happening in your business. So I click on here, latest bookings, and I can see that someone today has just made a booking on this London tour. So let's go and click through. Here it is, the booking that we just made. So this is what a booking looks like. Again, it's all this screen is configurable, so you can add and remove information and tabs depending on what's necessary for your business. So have we look at this. In the top left-hand corner, we have the lead customer's details. In the middle here, we've got the date of travel and the fact that there are 2 adults, sale value €200, and there's still €200 because remember, we haven't added a payment to this booking. There's still €200 to be paid on this booking, and actually it's owed by the lead customer. TourCMS can handle agent balances as well as customer balances. So if you wish, you want to indicate that a booking is owed by an agent, or maybe if the agent booked it themselves, we can ensure that the correct value is assigned to the right agent in terms of how much they owe, etc. Over on the right-hand side, we can see the booking reference. This is the number 44 here. We can see the booking name. We can see that it was made on the website. Now scrolling down a little bit more, we can see the product information. So this was a very simple booking. If you want to do tailor-made tours, we can create quite complicated itineraries and sets of information about that individual booking if you wish. So we can see here again it's just a very simple booking to the value of €200. On the money tab, we will see the revenue you're generating on this booking as well as your outgoings. Now if you wish, you can add cost ledger information to an individual booking. Now normally TourCMS works on what we call the sales ledger, and a sales ledger is things like customer payments, credit card fees, travel agent fees, deposits, booking fees, anything that you do on the sales side. We also have a cost ledger, which is probably more useful for companies who are doing tailor-made tours or who are adding custom elements to an individual booking. And if you do add your cost ledger, then TourCMS will tell you what the margin you're making on the booking. So you could tell your staff never sell for less than 25% markup, for example. We can add payments. So for example, if I wanted to add a €200 payment to the booking, here it is, and we can now see at the top of the screen, can you see it in green in the highlight there? I think you guys can all see that now. In the green, I'm just going to highlight it with my mouse. You see that? That's in green. It shows that there's zero balance because I've just added a €200 payment. Now, you can very quickly add payments, or if you wish, you can integrate with various different credit card and payment gateway solutions, and therefore we can take payments which will automatically add payment information to your TourCMS balance. And we have a variety of different ways. Now we're talking about payments. We have a variety of different ways you can do that. So for example, if you are a day tour company, you're probably going to take 100% of the you're probably going to take 100% of the payment up front. If you are selling a tailor-made tour or a multi-day tour, the chances are that you will take a deposit payment, perhaps 20%, and then collect the remainder of the payment at, let's say, 2 months before travel, or whatever it happens to be. TourCMS can handle all that. So, if we come through onto the marketing tab, we can see some information about the travel agent commission of this booking. You can adjust commission on a booking by booking basis. So if you've done a specific deal with an agent, you can do that. Or TourCMS can calculate it all automatically for you if you wish. We come through to the customers tab, and we get the information about the customers. You can add and remove customers. TourCMS works on the basis that if, for example, you've got 5 people on a booking, you will have 5 customer records, 1 booking record. If that customer subsequently books at a later time, you can tie this all together if you wish, and therefore you'll get a picture of your repeat customer transactions, which could be helpful from a CRM perspective. We're actually going to do more work on the CRM side shortly, but if you're a day tour company and you're mainly selling in a destination and you only have single visit customers, so they might come to your destination and that traveler is never going to come back again, then actually sort of multi-visit customer CRM may not be what you actually want. But we have that if you need it, and for companies, for example, if you are a diving operator, you might sell to the same customer every 12 months, and so it's great to sort of pull that information together in one place. Documents and communications, we can create automated invoices and templates for sending documents and letters and printing out pre-trip departure packets and all sorts of things. Right, we can go into that in a lot of detail, but now let's just go and have a look at a customer record. So I click here, click through here. So if you only want to take bookings with a deposit, yes, you could do that. So you could also change TourCMS so that you might take a deposit if they had booked, let's say 6 months in advance. But if it was a last-minute booking, you can make it so that TourCMS will take the full balance. So yeah, that's a highly configurable from that perspective. So we come through here to the customer record, and we have what you'd expect to see here, including the name and address, date of birth, passport. Again, some companies will find these fields useful. If you don't want them, you can turn them off. You probably noticed there it says zip code and state. Now we can configure TourCMS in your account, or you can configure it actually, that if you can change it between using what we're going to call British English and Australian English or American English. So we've got a variety of different languages for the user interface that you can apply. Marketing communications, this is where you can add information such as telephone, email address, or you can adjust it. We can also store all of your marketing permissions. So if you wish to have a customer subscribe to a newsletter, or to state that they no longer wish to receive your communications, then you can record all of that and keep that in TourCMS. So we've had a little look at some customer records and a booking record. Some of the other things that we can do in TourCMS are, I mean, you know, so that's pretty much the fundamentals of TourCMS. You add some dates, you take some bookings, you can then receive and manage your bookings and your customers. So what we can do the other things that we can do is we can set up things like automated customer communications. So I've just come through here into a into a page where we can set up some email templates. So let's say you wanted to create an email that was sent before, pre-trip email, so it was sent just before the customer arrived with you. So let's say they booked 2 months ago, and you wanted an email that was going to be automatically sent to the customer. Here is where you could configure it. So first of all, you tick enable. This one would be by default set 7 days before travel that the email is going to be sent. If you wish, you can set up different types of communications depending on whether or not you're communicating with the agent or the customer. So you can put your communications in here. We use these things called tokens, and they enable you to pull in booking specific information into your email communications. So you can put in the customer's name, what they've booked, all those kind of things. But you can so the kind of use for this is incredibly powerful and very useful if you are a day tour company and you have single visit customer transactions. So they're going to come to your destination once, but they're never going to come back to you again, sadly. Then you could set up a sequence of emails to be sent pre and post trip, and for example your post trip ones might be, go to TripAdvisor and please review us, or it might be, hey, how did we do, you know, your feedback is welcome. You can also automate these to handle things like balance collection reminders. So if you haven't collected the money fully, you could set a series of emails to happen based on collecting money, and again you can connect that with the payment gateways and the credit cards, so that you can actually make the payments happen, etc. Because these email templates are HTML email templates, you can add things like logos, and you can make them in your own font and with your own design or with your own footer or whatever it happens to be. Yes. We also are storing in this channel manager and the emails the language of the booking. So you can choose to run TourCMS in multiple languages. So if you are trading in English and in Spanish, you could have one set of email templates in English and another in Spanish. And the customers that book in English will get your English booking emails, and those that book in Spanish will get your Spanish booking emails. We support about 22 languages at the moment. So the chances are, if you do want to take transactions in multiple languages, that we'll be able to support you there. So we have a sort of a powerful channel manager. One of the what Channel Manager is, other ways that you can use the Channel Manager include things like brands. So let's say you are in your destination and you want to sell, you have a website which is based around selling your destination as a luxury destination, and maybe you have another website that presents the destination as a budget destination. You might be using different brands to do this. The Channel Manager can actually help you with this as well, in that you would enable communications from one brand to be your customer when they book to TourCMS remembers which brand they're associated with and therefore which emails they should be receiving. You can set these templates yourself. So this is your business. I mean, ultimately we're a technology company. We actually have, if you go to our website, if you go to our document library somewhere, hang on, just go here a second. If you come here, you can create your own template. So here's an example template. I'll show you an example on the screen. Scroll down a little bit here. It says, dear primary contact name. So you can put in things like this, and you can put in a template like this, dear primary contact name, and we would strip that out and put the actual customer's name. So yes, you can write whatever you like in the templates, and use your own. If you've got existing emails that you send to customers, the chances are that they'll work in TourCMS. This is great. We have TourCMS in Dutch, and we've got lots of happy customers in Holland using TourCMS, so always good to have TourCMS in Dutch. So another reason why you might use the Channel Manager might be that you might want to sell to different markets in different ways. So for example, you might sell to the American market at a different price or in a different way to selling to the European market. So we can handle that as well. So keep the questions coming, lots of questions coming, and we're trying to answer them as best we can. I'm also trying to answer them verbally as well. If you guys are doing great, shouting them all out. So can we, for example, the other thing, yes, we can sell in multiple currencies. So you can set one channel up to sell in dollars, one channel to set up in euros, whatever it happens to be. We can talk a little bit about, if we click through to money, we can see here that we are selling. This particular channel is selling in euros. We can use exchange rates to calculate what the ultimate sale price should be. If you wish, you can then add a rounding rule. So if the exchange rate creates a price that is a kind of what we would call a horrible number, one that's not very nice to look at, if you wish, you can round up to a number that looks more kind of not sensible. And that's, so we have capabilities to handle sales in different currencies, multiple currencies, and with an application of an exchange rate and a rounding rule. Yeah, you can also mark up. So if you want to sell to a particular market at 10% more than another market, you can easily add that as well. At the moment in TourCMS, exchange rates are handled manually. We have a system where you can update and change them, and the reason for that is because, I mean, this is just an example here, is that the licensing costs of exchange rate data is actually rather expensive. In fact, you find it'd be more than TourCMS. If anyone wants to talk to us specifically about exchange rate data management, then we'd be delighted to have that conversation, because it's a great topic, and we should be able to fix that really at some point in the near future. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Channel Manager. We talked a little bit about branding. I mean, that's quite a complicated topic, the Channel Manager. But what it really means is that you can sell and trade how you want to. So if you currently trade in different brands, if you currently trade in different currencies, TourCMS will let you do that. Now I want to talk a little bit about marketing. I mean, I think I might come back and talk a little bit more about other product types near the end. But let's just move on now and talk a little bit about marketing side of TourCMS. So there's there's fundamentally 3 different types of marketing that you might be doing. And we know that the majority of TourCMS customers who are local, direct providers of tourism services tend to be direct marketing. Very much direct business. I think across the entire network, only 5% of all bookings in TourCMS are travel agent generated initially. It's quite a low number. So we have 3 types of marketing that you can do. Firstly, we can track your pay-per-click marketing. So, for example, if you advertise with Google, you can use TourCMS tracking links, and we will be able to understand what Google delivered you in terms of bookings and booking value. The difference between using TourCMS tracking and, let's say, the tracking that originally comes with Google, and the existing Google tracking, of course, continues to work, so that's fine as well, is that, especially for tailor-made tours, we understand what the final value of the transaction was rather than what the initial transaction was, which is the only data that Google's got. So the first area of marketing with TourCMS is sort of pay-per-click tracking. The second is you can set up and you can use your own travel agent records. So let's say you already work with 5, 10 different travel agents. Some people work with hundreds of travel agents or even thousands. That's fine. Maybe if you're a day tour operator in a destination, you work with a local hotel. That's fine. We can set them up as an agent. You can set up in TourCMS complicated commission schemes, so you can give individual commission values to an agent, so they can be set to be a certain percentage, or you might say, we can sell both tours and hotels, but we're only going to give our agents 5% commission on the hotels because we have to buy them from someone else, but we can give the agent 20% on the tour because we run those tours ourselves, and therefore we'll give the agent a bit more of a percentage. So you can group your agents into high-performing agents who maybe you give a little bit more of an incentive to, or you might say, or you might have some web affiliates who you want to give a very low percentage to, because ultimately you're still having to deal with the customer, but you want to deal with them, you want to have them all tracked. So okay, so we have an agent manager, and the other thing that we have on top of TourCMS is this thing called the TourCMS marketplace, and this is where actually you can have TourCMS agents shared between TourCMS accounts, which is a very powerful proposition, because it means if you as a local individual supplier, or maybe a larger outbound tour operator, you may not have the power to get all these agents to work with you, but you might find that if, let's say, you're a mountain bike holiday in Scotland and somebody else is a mountain bike holiday company in Ireland, actually you might find there's a single agent who's really interested in working with mountain bike holiday companies wherever they are, and therefore TourCMS can help you have a single relationship with those 2 companies, or those individual companies, individual entities. They would still have a single business relationship with that mountain bike interested agent, and that's a really powerful thing. So the kind of things we can do in the TourCMS marketplace, and I'm just going to show you the good stuff first rather than showing you how it all works, is we can do things like these widgets. Now, a widget is a funny technical word, but take this one line of JavaScript. Now, for those of you who are technical, you'll see that is pulling a live page from the TourCMS system. For those of you who are not technical, this is a really simple thing that you can put onto somebody else's website. Really simple. And what that line of JavaScript does, if you put that onto their page, is it will produce this panel here of 2 tours. Short descriptions, image, from price, and a link to the page on your own website where the customer can subsequently book. This is great for really simple, straightforward relationships with local partners, because you can get your tours onto other people's websites, and when you add tours and remove tours, they will automatically add and remove from these widgets. You will also, if you change your prices or if you change your image, they will automatically update on your partner websites. So again, imagine here you are an angling tour company. You might want to put a widget on the local angling shop website. And that's a relationship that you might have in the real world because you're based in the marina and they're based in the marina. That's a real world relationship, but now you can go to them simply and say, hey, here's a widget, put this on your website, and bingo, you'll probably find that you'll start generating bookings as a result. We've got lots of different designs for the widgets. So here we have a slightly more compressed one. You can put as many tours. You can make these, I won't go into the detail, but these are really highly configurable. And just for our Dutch friends, oh, here is a widget working in Dutch. There we are. So, in terms of the widget design, we have 3 designs of widget. Firstly, you have a blue one. Secondly, we have a kind of an orangey one. And thirdly, we have one that tries to take the CSS from the site that it's been put on. So what that will do is it tries to look the most natural. We tend to find that the blue ones actually work really well for sites that have a pretty neutral design. But if you don't like the colors, then it can be configured. The one that tries to take the CSS from the site design is actually really is quite nice. But depending on, well, let's be honest about this. It depends on the quality of the website that it's been integrated on. If the web designer's done a good job, then it should actually take the colors fine. If they made a bit of a mess of it, then our widget can sometimes go a bit odd. Right. But if you don't like the widgets and you think, oh, actually, I like the idea of that, but I don't actually want to use these JavaScript widgets, we have this thing called the TourSearch API, and someone can easily put this list straight into the page. I'm talking to web developers here mainly at this moment in time. You can put this into the page simply as well. So one of the things we have in the marketplace is these things called the widgets. And another thing that we have is this, something similar actually, is this thing called the Facebook app, and it produces a similar effect. So I'm just going to have a quick look at this one. Oh, always a bit dangerous clicking on this one. And this is an example of, you can see it's appearing on Facebook. This is an example of someone's tours in Thailand appearing in, well, it looks like Russian. That's quite cool. So yeah, it works in Dutch, works in Russian, works in whatever language you want it to be. So these kind of ideas, these are the kind of the basic things that you can do with TourCMS, is that you can create local relationships and power your local relationships, and TourCMS will track them all for you. Let's say you were a dance school and you had some dance tours. You might be able to approach some dance schools and get your dancing tours appearing on these dance school websites. That would be a kind of thing that I would be doing. I would be pushing as a marketing, from a marketing perspective. It's just a matter of, so when you walk into a business meeting with some potential partner, TourCMS will enable you to power that relationship. Remember, we're a technology company, so you guys are running the business how you want to run your business, and we just empower you to do it how you want to do it. You have a direct commercial relationship with anyone you're dealing with. We're not in the middle, and we're not between that. Yeah. Okay. So we can do that, and one of the things that we do once we so we can so we just talk a little bit about website integration for the moment. It really comes down to how much time and effort you have and how many tours you have. We know that some local tour operators only have 4 or 5 tours, in which case you may just want to maintain an existing website and add some book now links straight into the TourCMS booking engine. But if, let's say, you've got 100 tours, the customer, when they come to your website, doesn't really want to go through all of those 100 tours. The chances are that they are going to search, not browse. This means they may start with a date. They may say, hey, I'm coming in August, or maybe a specific date. I'm coming on the 20th of August. And they may say, hey, I've got a category. I want to do a wine tasting tour or something like that. In which case, if you've got hundreds of tours and you want to search, then we can put that on your site, and then that can be, you need to do a full integration pretty much, because that will give you the ability to access and search specific dates, specific tours. If you've only got like a handful of tours, we can do a really simple integration with your existing website, and you don't have to do much work at all. It really depends on what your budget is and how you plan to do things. So yeah, and we integrate with, again, I mean, we integrate with things like WordPress, which is quite nice. But WordPress, due to the way that WordPress works, you probably would only want to be a tour operator with less than 20 tours, let's say, if you're using WordPress, because there is a little bit of manual work. Effectively, a tour becomes a post, for those of you who blog, and that is fine. But if you've only got a handful of tours, that's good. But if you've got 100 tours, then there are better ways of doing a TourCMS integration. We can help you with that. And we also know companies that start with TourCMS in one season, and they just do a really simple integration just to get them going, and then a year later they come along and go, right, now we're happy with TourCMS, now we are going to commit a bit longer and make a website that does a proper integration. So, any more questions coming up? There's lots of questions coming in. People want to see, people are asking for examples, and because I can't read all these comments all coming at the same time, I'm trying to fathom up examples of what. But yes, we've got, okay, so one of the other things that we have, again, for the technical people, we have all of your data, well, you have all of your data in an XML format. So if you want to do a relationship with someone and they have a developer, yeah, you can get your product to appear on their website. And it's actually quite straightforward, XML, in that TourCMS is designed around people to be able to integrate with TourCMS who don't have to have high-powered corporate web developers. I know, having spent a long time working in the travel industry myself, if you go and look at an airline XML feed, these are really complicated, beastly things. TourCMS is not like that. The API has been designed so that a developer can very quickly get something up in terms of a tour search, show tour, and link to the existing booking engine, perhaps. That's quite a straightforward process, and we can normally and we find people signing up and doing that with TourCMS without even having to speak to us, so that should be fine. If you want to, it takes a little bit more experience to perhaps make your own booking engine using the API, but that's absolutely possible to do as well. Best thing to do if you've got an interest in APIs and XML is to send us an email, and we can have a discussion with your web developers, and we can always have a really good conversation in Core for Now about with your web developers, and if you're thinking of using TourCMS to build a website, we'll have a conversation with web developers, and we'll point you in the right direction and ensure that they understand what the options are and how you might progress them. So let's say we've got a question about packaging and how you might combine two tours in a single booking. Now, I'm just going to have I'm going to just quickly go through to the booking that we had just now, and I'm actually going to just jump through a second. I'm just going to flip through. Right now, the booking that we're now looking at, again, this is the booking that I was on just now that we made at the beginning of this webinar. If you see, we have now got two tours on this same booking. They actually happen to be for the same departure, for the same on the same date. If this was a real-world example, you probably would have just changed the quantity of the original tour. But this is a quick example of how you can add multiple tours or multiple components into the same transaction. We also have these things called options, and they enable you to add things like extensions or upgrades, or there might be additional ancillary things, like it might be an evening out. If you're selling a multiple day tour, you might have a boat cruise or something that you might sell additional to the original transaction. So you can create really quite complicated itineraries and packages, including hotels and tours, of within TourCMS. Now you might choose to do that manually, like I just did just there, or if you wish, then quite a lot of this can be done on your front end website. The real question comes down to the business rules and the logic, what can be combined with what. So it's not something we can really answer on the webinar, but technically, yeah, it's absolutely possible. You just need to think about it a little bit more. Okay, so generating so let's have a look at something else. Let's have a look at the supplier manager. So we can actually go into an individual supplier, and you can use this to manage and maintain your information about your individual suppliers. So you can keep your name, address, your company descriptions. And if you wish, when you receive a booking, this information can be used to so that if you've got multiple suppliers on a booking, you can actually, if you wish to, you can give a login to your supplier so that your suppliers can only see the bookings that they are supplying. That's absolutely fine. That's quite a straightforward thing to do, and that's quite a popular thing to do. We don't handle any of the transaction in terms of the information, in terms of the money flow between yourself and the supplier. I mean, it's an interesting idea actually, because there's but we don't do that at the moment. We can certainly help in terms of the payment gateways of you receiving money from your customers and your agents, but we don't have any technology as part of TourCMS at this moment in time where we are helping you distribute money from yourself to the supplier. But yeah, you will definitely know what you're paying to each supplier if you set up to use TourCMS to do that. Really, the question comes down to information management. So if you make the effort to put in all your cost ledger details for an individual transaction, then TourCMS will know what the supplier's owed. But some companies will just use TourCMS as a bookings management and sales ledger, i.e. what the customer and the agents are paying, and not worrying too much about the cost ledger. Again, it comes down to if you're a specialist, local, tailor-made tour company who only does 50 bookings a month, or even less, 20 bookings a month, or even 10 bookings a month, then you might make the effort to use TourCMS to do your full data management. But if you're a data operator and you're selling hundreds a day, then the chances are you just want to set up everything to be automatic, and you don't want to have any touch points. You don't want to be sat there going, having to edit each individual booking. You just want to use all the automation tools you can to stop you having to look at and touch bookings. You want to be alerted when a booking isn't quite right so that you know what you're doing, and we have a system here for let's just have a look at that. Booking flags and notifications. If we scroll down here, we can see that the individual users, this could include suppliers as well, can be notified when you receive a booking, when it's cancelled, when a credit card has failed. That's quite useful. You can be notified when it's a last-minute booking. So let's imagine you leave the office at 6 o'clock in the evening and someone books at 8 o'clock in the evening for tomorrow. If you want, TourCMS can send you an email saying, "Oh, you better log into TourCMS," or we can send you an SMS. Actually, we can send you an SMS so you can say, "Hey, did you know you just got a booking and it's for tomorrow morning?" This is all things that TourCMS can do for you. And different users in your system, different members of staff, can be set for different permissions. So not everyone has to have the same thing. You can also be sent emails and be alerted when things haven't quite gone to plan on the booking. So, for example, if you've got a quotation that no one has actually touched, sometimes you've been sent an email and no one's looked at that for months or a couple of days or whatever it is, some problem. You as the bookings manager might go, right, I'm going to be alerted when that happens so that we make sure that we don't get too far behind. So we have a lot of alerting. So lots of questions coming in, and I'm trying to sort of read them all at the same sort of time. What other things you can do? Okay, well, we've got some reports, so let's have a look at some reports. So we have some kind of different kinds of reports. Again, what we're looking at here is actually sort of a test account, so you don't have a lot of data to play with. But we have, first of all, you've got your own mechanism to design your own reports. Secondly, we've got a lot of out-of-the-box reports that are pretty good for bookings and finance. Then we have some sort of analysis reports which tell you things like how your pay-per-click advertising is working and your lead time, the kind of information you need to understand whether or not your business is succeeding or not. And also we have all your data that can be exported in Excel. So if you don't, if you at all times you've got access to your data. So I mean that's kind of TourCMS. You have bookings, you've got customers, got all your agents and an agent manager, you've got all your suppliers and the supplier manager. You can find new agents in the TourCMS marketplace. So if you wanted to, if you think that you've got a web, you can look down here, down this list, and you can, for example, connect onto an agent. A good one on this list, for example, is TourRadar. If you advertise with TourRadar, this is a good example, you can pay them and you will appear on their website. And if you use TourCMS and connect to TourRadar, you then don't have to load all your tours into TourRadar because TourCMS and TourRadar have connected that all up together automatically. So again, this is a simple way of meaning that you only have to manage your content and your dates and prices once, and they will then take all that data and they take all that data automatically out of your account. And if you choose that you no longer want to work with them, you just you click on TourCMS to stop working with them, and they will no longer have access to your data.